You have yourself. You're the only person who has you. As much as like I have amazing support, amazing friends, amazing family, it is me on this planet, on my own, doing this for myself, and no one is going to do it for me. That moment in time that is tough, it is temporary. It definitely gets better. It can get worse, but you've got to ride the wave. I think being able to embrace change, do something different is the way to be able to grow. And growth happens in taking risks and doing something that's hard, and taking a risk is hard.
Hi, I am Tatjana Pandurevic, and welcome to Moonshot, a space where comfort zones don't exist. Having spent most of my life scared to take risks, the one thing I am seeking now is to be surrounded by more people who are courageous, bold, unafraid, and relentless in their pursuit for success to help inspire me and hopefully you. In this podcast, we dive deep into the minds of individuals who see no limits, those who dream big and defy boundaries. Today on Moonshot, I'm really excited to welcome Amy Castano, a powerhouse in the world of fitness and entrepreneurship. From corporate finance to co-founding the multi-million-dollar fitness empire Acero, Amy's journey is incredible. Together with her business partner, Castano, she has built a brand known not only for its high performance, but also for its unique vibe and community spirit. Amy's unique blend of passion, discipline, and vision has propelled Acero to the top of the fitness world. Beyond fitness, Amy is a master of building brands. From Acero's gym to their fitness app and clothing line, she's grown it all organically, while amassing a social media following of over 500,000 followers. In today's episode, we'll dive into how Amy creates standout brands while staying true to her values, and how she approaches high performance in both business and life. If you're looking for insights on building a thriving business, achieving high performance, and navigating personal and professional challenges, this is an episode you won't want to miss. Let's dive in. Amy, you've built an incredible career from corporate finance to founding a multi-million-dollar fitness empire. What key moments in your life shaped the person you are today?
I guess a little bit of a background on me. I went to university, and I got my degree in finance and accounting, double degree actually. And I then went on to, ever since I was young, it was drilled into me that, you need to get a job and work. And even younger than that, if we go way, way back, I was always entrepreneurial, I guess from the beginning. My dad ran his own company, and my mum worked with him but also had her own job as well. So I always was around and surrounded by people who, I guess, worked for themselves and had that flexibility, but also worked really, really hard. So I think, coming from my parents, that has really shaped me. But then also, going through university, then having my own way through, making myself through the career ranks, I guess. I then found that the path that I took wasn't exactly the one that I wanted to follow. And then, I guess, being in that corporate industry and then moving into this unknown space of, I guess, social media, taking that leap and that risk because it was, going well at that time. And as well, then moving into building brands and, just, I guess, taking those risks and steps at those times and changes were probably the biggest things that shaped me in my career.
You really followed your own path. When you were younger, what did you want to be?
When I was younger, I wanted to be, and this is actually quite funny because I remember, those book day parades. I dressed up.
They're classic. I wonder if they still do them.
Yeah, I think they do actually. I dressed up as the richest woman in the world. That's what I wanted to be.
Wow.
And what I was wearing was a suit. I had glasses on, and that was my image of what I wanted to be, and that was what I chose. People went as Disney characters or princesses, and I went as that, a businesswoman at a very young age. So yeah, that's what I wanted to be.
It's remarkable when you look back and share that story, because I definitely remember those book parades, and I don't think I remember seeing anyone dressing up as the richest person in the world. You get firefighters and doctors.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's really telling to hear that story.
Yeah.
And I've listened to you tell the story of your journey a few different times, and something that really stands out is you really stayed true to yourself, and you've talked about a self-discovery journey that you went through a couple of years ago, where you really thought about your values and what you stand for. What led to that, and how did it change your perspective on life and business?
Okay, so I think I was just in the motion of life, what was expected of me. It was to, I guess, school, uni, find the person that you love, you get married, you have kids, and happy days. But inside me, that's not what I felt. I didn't feel like that sat well with me. So I think I sort of pulled back, a couple of years ago now. I pulled back and I sort of didn't become reclused, but I just wanted to be not on my own, but have my own space and just really listen to what was going on inside me. I just felt like there was something missing, something wrong. And that sort of led me to, I guess, find myself and those values that I actually really value, and I guess stay true to those.
It's a really interesting insight. The world's quite a loud place. There's a lot of noise everywhere, and it'll be just general society, it'll be other people's opinions, and we don't realise how much of an impact they have on us. But until you can get into a place where it's really silent, you can then start to hear your own thoughts and who you are and what you really believe.
Definitely. And having that time to myself, it was a couple of, months and years. I think it just really it gave me that confidence to feel. And I know it's so hard to explain, but you just feel like you have yourself. You're the only person who has you. As much as I have amazing support, amazing friends, amazing family, it is me on this planet on my own doing this for myself, and no one is going to do it for me. So I think that's something that really just gave me the confidence to I guess, make that change in my life to be okay, I am doing this for me. And that's probably what was the biggest changing factor in myself.
It's a really confronting realization, but you also equally start to realize your own strength as well. What are your values, and how do you intentionally live by them?
That's a very that's a question that I read, but I also had to think about it because I guess it's something that I innately live by. In terms of values, I want to, and I do believe that I'm a good person. I do things righteously, and I want to do the right thing, but I also want to work incredibly hard. That's one of my biggest values is, work hard, and also trust yourself. That's one of my biggest things. And intuitively trust yourself. I think subconsciously we feel, energies go through us and we feel feelings, but then you put them to the side. You're oh, maybe that's me second guessing something. But I think truly being able to feel those feelings and trust that what your gut is saying is correct, I guess taking the risk to believe in that feeling.
And be guided by those decisions.
Yeah.
I recently did an activity at work where there was a list of 80 values written on a piece of paper, and the activity we were asked to do is select the top 5 that resonate with you. And you've said it wasn't easy when you even had to think about it, and it's really not easy because you're thinking about what are those things that are most important to you. But what I found was kind of the second part that you were saying, which is it got me thinking, am I really living those values, and how am I putting them into practice, and how much are you living, I guess you say, true to your intuition, but to who you really are as a person.
Yeah, and I think as well, like we have like, you know, ultimate goals. Everyone has ultimate goals. But I think it's every single day, every act that you do, every decision that you make, it leads to those ultimate goals, right? And to truly live by, I guess, what your values are is to, like, even if it's down to, I don't know, making a left turn or, you know, choosing what to eat for lunch, those all add up and they compound up until, you know, you get to that ultimate goal.
Yeah, they make you the person that you are.
Yeah, exactly.
You and Jono have done an incredible job with Acero. Why did you decide to launch Acero? Can you take me through that story?
Okay, so this is actually a story that I absolutely love. So it was in the height of COVID. It was something that there was zero plan for. It was kind of like, you know, Jono was a PT. He still is a PT, but he was a PT working in another gym. And, you know, you have those, like, I guess, sayings like, oh, okay, one day you're going to own your own gym. We'll do that, whatever. But we didn't know that it was going to literally be around the corner. And in the height of COVID, lockdowns happened. The gym that he was at closed their doors, and he was training people outside, rain, hail or shine. And it was quite cold then during lockdown. So I was training at a boxing gym, which was outdoors, and they had a space available upstairs because the previous people that were in there, the previous owners, they left. So, my boxing coach was like, do you want to take a look? And I was like, okay, I'll take a look. It was a mess, an absolute mess. But I just envisioned what I wanted to do in there. And it's almost like it just came to life in front of my eyes while I was walking through. That's exactly what we did. During the lockdowns, we sort of worked on building out the space while Jono was still training people outside. And at that time, we hired another trainer that just worked alongside Jono to service some of his clients, Benny. And it's now turned into about 20 trainers that we have over 4 years that have joined Acero. So, yeah. And
a really big, incredibly well-known brand. When you started the process of setting up the gym, how do you go about that? Are you buying out all of the equipment outright? How do you start bringing in that client base? Like,
yes.
What do those first couple of months look like?
Well, I guess for us, it's not like your traditional because it was in the COVID lockdowns. So it was more of like a gradual build. I remember the boys went in there because lockdowns had ended and they went in there to train their clients, but we hadn't finished the build just yet. So there was like concrete, there was dust still, but they just wanted to be in the space. And it was also like winter, so they wanted to be outside.
Not freezing.
Yeah, exactly. They wanted to be inside. Exactly. So it was more of a slow build for us. And I think for me as a person, I'm not a perfectionist, but I also like things a certain way. So I think if I was to do this and sort of sit down and plan something out, it might not have happened because I would have a whole plan. I'd be like, we need to do this, tick, tick, tick. But with this way that we did it, it was like like fight or flight. Like it's either you do it or you don't. So yeah, it was, contacting suppliers and manufacturers in terms of, what merch we wanted to have, machinery, down to the marble in the bathrooms, the tilers, every single trade that you can think of. I don't know about this. I have no idea. But it was an amazing learning curve for sure.
It's almost like COVID was a blessing because it made perfectionism, or the idea of perfectionism and not attaining that, fully okay.
Yeah, and I think that was a realization to me that not everything is going to be perfect, and that's okay. But you need to make a start because otherwise it'll just sit there as an idea.
And never turn into anything real.
Yeah.
You also grew Acero and built a very large following for yourself, for Jono, and for the other brands that you have now, the clothing line and the fitness app. And you started out with no paid marketing or paid endorsement to build such a large brand. How did you do that?
So Jono and I, we had our social media following prior, and we built that off the back of what we do. So Jono was in fitness. Jono is in fitness. I'm not sure why I'm saying was.
Tense, but it's literally his whole job and identity.
He's still alive. He is in fitness. So he built that through giving fitness tips, exercise tips. And for me, I was I still am as well, in the beauty space. So we sort of built our followings prior to by...
How large were your followings prior to starting Acero?
I would not be able to give you exact numbers, but we did have like substantial followings before. And Jono had as well. He trained some celebrities. So he got a lot of media behind that as well. So when we did start Acero, it was more so Jono had a massive clientele base here in Sydney. And with the COVID lockdowns, again, blessing in disguise, a lot of people reached out to train virtually. And we've continued that today.
Well, you still do virtual training?
We do, yes. So a lot of people who are based in Sydney, who aren't based in Sydney, who maybe go on holidays and have home gyms, they train virtually with our trainers and Jono as well.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. That's still stayed a part of a brand offering that you've got.
Yeah.
Despite there being no lockdown or restrictions to train in the gym. What makes Acero different from any other gym?
I think Acero is different because it's very people-focused. Our trainers and our clientele and our community, it is one big family. We do really take care of our clients in the sense of we like to provide such a premium service, but not only that, a private space in order for them to train in. And also when you come into Acero, it's almost like Vegas. Like you don't know what time it is. It's all dark. And
you don't have any windows, right?
No. And actually when I first walked in there were windows. So I had this vision that it was going to be all blacked out.
So windows have got to go.
Windows are gone. And I guess what makes us different is our people. We have a very, rigid hiring process in the sense that, you sit down with myself, my general manager, Caleb, and Benny, our PT manager, and Jono, and we sort of get an energy feel first and foremost. Like for me, that's my biggest thing. Within 2 minutes, I know if Acero is for you and if you fit Acero. And, however much, study you've done, however much experience you've done, it definitely takes a certain type of personality to live the values of Acero. And I definitely can see that within, first 2 to 5 minutes, if that person is a great fit for us.
That's incredible, and I've heard you talk about this. You also hold the title of Chief Vibe Officer, and you also talk about the importance of energy in all the parts of your business. What are some other examples where you bring those same principles, but how do you apply them in other parts of your business as well?
Yeah, I guess being the Chief Vibe Officer, that's self-proclaimed. I guess more so like, I like to come in and I like to bring a good energy. And I feel like when you bring a good energy, it's infectious and it trickles into the team. And I want them to feel that energy. And that's how I think it enters into other parts of the business when I guess the people who you're surrounded by bring the good energy and they feel that, it definitely helps the flow of the business, the flow of the day. And, like they say, like a smile can change, someone's day from bad to good. And I definitely believe that. I feel like, bringing a high energy, which isn't all the time, I can tell you. Sometimes I come in exhausted, but it's definitely something that we like to keep at Acero and, have good vibes, good energy and high vibrations.
And I've heard you say it's also something that you can't teach, and that's why it's such a non-negotiable. Is it just a feeling? Is there anything common in the people that you hire about the energy that they bring to the business?
Yeah, I guess when we look at in the hiring process and we look at trainers, obviously you need to be qualified. That's first and foremost.
Foundational.
Yeah, of course. But when when you talk to someone and you have that connection and you're able to connect with someone, I think that's important to know that every person is going to be different in the way that they connect. Every person is going to be different in the way that they communicate, and that can service a certain type of person. In terms of our clientele, we have people from business owners to lawyers to doctors to people in school and mothers. Like, we have such a different range of clients. So when we look for people to join our team, I guess the common values would be being a good person, being, I guess, driven, but also being able to connect with, us, but also a certain type of client.
Yeah, because I've heard you, and this is really unique, I've heard you talk about matching.
Yes.
Matching clients to trainers, and that being a really important part of when you're bringing in new people into the gym, of actually finding them the right trainer that suits them and their personality.
Yes.
Is that a dark art? How do you go about doing that?
I guess for us, with our leads, I guess we get, their general fitness goal, and we usually follow that up with a call. So on that call, it'll be, I guess, feeling what their energy is like and feeling what type of trainer would connect with them. If they're jokey and they're loud and they're laughing, we know who to put that person with. If they're very serious and quiet, we're like, okay, we've got a trainer for you. So for us, all of our trainers can get you to your fitness goal, whether you want to do boxing, whether you want to do weight training, high intensity training, Pilates. We've got all trainers to do those. But I think it's important that you enjoy that process and enjoy your training session. And with that, you've got to enjoy the person that you're with for 45 minutes. So we find that one of the high priorities when matching people, clients and trainers.
It's so important, because if I even think of the trainers that I've worked with in the past, the only ones that I've worked with sustainably over a longer period of time is the ones that I've genuinely enjoyed seeing week in, week out. But what it really shows to me is you care about the small details about what goes into your business. So rather than you've got someone who wants to train and they're looking for a trainer, you're not just matching them based on availability and filling up the schedules of your trainers, but you really care about making a great experience for the clients and the trainers, which just goes to show. And it's one of those small details, but it's so important.
I totally agree. And yeah, when I think about it as well, I've had trainers in the past and the ones that I've loved training with, I've stuck out with for years, whereas the ones that I was like, this is so awkward. There's no conversation and it's literally like, okay, 10, 9, 8. And it's so awkward. Like you just feel like there's just no conversation. So would you prefer to just go in, get it done and get out, or would you prefer to enjoy that 45 minutes? And for us at Acero, we want everyone to enjoy the process and the journey.
Yeah, really longer term partnerships. It helps your clients achieve their health goals, but it makes it a great environment all around for anyone that's entering the gym. Something else that's really unique is you've got a really successful business and great partnership with an ex. Mm-hmm. How did you manage to sustain such a strong relationship and business partnership despite having personal changes in your relationship?
I guess for Jono and I, we were together for, I think it was like 15 or so years. So we grew up together and we were friends, best friends, first and foremost in our relationship, and obviously romantically in love. But then that side of it, I guess, came to the end of the road for us. However, we still wanted to be in each other's lives. And I think that was a mutual thing for both of us. So it was, I guess, a very hard time navigating, I guess, what was this relationship going to turn into? Are we going to lose this? Because neither of us wanted to. However, it's about there's always going to be bumps in the road. So we really took care to make sure that, I guess, anyone who was coming into our lives, both on Jono's side and my side, that that person was well aware of the situation. I was very upfront and also made known that Jono is always going to be in my life as a friend, as a partner, in terms of business. I think just being upfront with anyone who came into our lives and also having that transparency between Jono and I was important as well.
And you also, aside from the personal relationship that you have a really strong business partnership, and it's so important to be in business with the right person. What are some of the qualities from your experience working with Jono that are really important to have in a business partner?
I think a person who you can lean on and their strengths. That's so important because what he does and what his role in the business is, I could not do. Like that's 100% him, and I give all credit to him. He is an amazing networker. He's amazing in terms of hardworking, grueling hours, and puts every single effort in to make sure that the business is a success, as do I. However, I'm a numbers girl. I am a creative and have built the brand, and that's something that I guess someone who doesn't have time to do so or has that creative mind or I guess the logical, numbers and how all of that works in terms of business, running a business, he can lean on my strengths for that. So I think having different strengths is very important, but first and foremost, communication and trust, which is massive. Trusting that person who you're literally having a relationship with, And when there's business, money involved, that is such a integral part of, the backbone of a business. So you need to trust that person. And because Jono and I have so much history, and that's not always the case in terms of finding a business partner, right? You could meet someone out at a networking event. You guys have a great connection, but you don't know the person. You don't know their history, but the connection and your strengths could match up. But for Jono and I, in our case, we have like 17 years of history that goes back so far. I know him like the back of my hand, the same as he knows me. So our trust is very, very strong in that sense.
Which is, it's everything. Like you said, when things are going well, it's really easy to have trust and good communication. It's when things are really challenging or more stressful, that's when it's even more important. In fact, that's when it's essential to ensure that you can have a sustainable long-term partnership. You've done an incredible job amassing a really large following. You talked about one of your strengths being numbers. You come from a financial background, and the other being the creative side of what you do and in building the brands. And you've built the brand for yourself and your own personal brand. I've heard you manage Jono's brand as well as the clothing line and the fitness app. What goes into building a successful social media presence?
I guess it's being incredibly authentic. When we first started out, it was probably when Instagram first started as well, not showing my age at all. But we definitely stayed true to who we are, and what we're putting out there is ourselves. I don't feel like I ever took a partnership with a brand that I didn't believe in, and being, responsible for communicating the brand's values and what they're about through my audience. That is something that people trust, and you're basically trying to get their trust in the brand that you're working with. I think it's important to always be authentic about what you're talking about and to be yourself. I think it's very easy to get caught up in having a persona online, but then also being someone different. I'm the exact same person. Like you'll ask anyone that they know that, oh yeah, that's definitely her. But I think that's what it's about, is just being yourself, because everybody else is taken. So what you can bring to the world is very unique.
You can definitely tell when someone's being authentic as well, as opposed to when they're trying to be something they're not. When I'm on Instagram and I'm following a lot of different profiles, I can feel when I'm being sold to, in a way. It doesn't need to be a product, but it could be a personal brand as well. And I can feel when the person is genuinely being authentic, and I'm much more drawn toward that content. It has such a big impact when you're consuming one content versus another as well.
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree.
You work with a lot of people who are high performers, and the premise of this show is really about high performance, a growth mindset, and what it takes to be successful. What do you recognize in the people that you work with that go on to achieve their goals, both within the businesses you're in and the clientele that you have, versus the ones that don't?
I think it's doing everything in their power to make sure they succeed in whatever they put their mind to. I definitely notice those traits in, myself, in the people that I surround myself with, and having that network of people who are doing the same, like-minded people. That's definitely had an impact on myself as well. I think it's also about having discipline to make sure that you're I guess, doing what you need to. It's not about like sitting back and just waiting for something to come. I think a lot of people that do get to where they want to be is because they've chased that. And I totally understand, like, there's a balance between, I guess, forcing something to become yours and it's not the right fit for you, but also, I guess, putting out what you want to, I guess, achieve. It might not be the right path. It might not be the straightest path. And you might fail so many times along the way. But I feel like people who completely give it their all and, I guess, try and try again till they get to the destination that they want, that's what I see in people who, I guess, are successful. Yeah.
What advice would you give to people that are struggling with discipline? Like, when I think of the word discipline, I think of a combination of consistency, persistence, and focus. For people that are struggling to maintain that and they really want to achieve whatever goal they might have in their life, what advice would you give them to get started in just improving in that facet of life?
Just get started, and also take small steps. It's not an all or nothing mindset. It's definitely, and I've learned that definitely along the way. You can wake up tomorrow and be like, okay, today is the day that I'm going to do this. I'm going to make sure that I'm switched on. But you're putting so much pressure on yourself. I think if you like add something very, I guess, smaller into your day rather than just being like, okay, I'm going to go all out. I'm going to do, the meditation. I'm going to do the journaling. I'm going to do the diet. I'm going to do the drinking of 4 liters of water a day. I'm going to do eating well, exercise. Or like if you add all of that and think that that's sustainable, it's not. It's about adding things slowly, because then when you look back, you're like, oh my God, I added like all of these things to my life. It was sustainable and now it's become a habit to me that it feels like it's my lifestyle, and it is my lifestyle. It's what I do. So I think it's about taking baby steps and making your way to the right path that you want to go, I guess slowly and steady.
Yeah, a few thoughts come to mind. One is, if I use a gym analogy, working with my personal trainer, she's always building a program for me with what she calls progressive overload. Mm-hmm. So it's slowly getting better and better. And if I just use kind of a metaphor to describe what you've just talked about, it's like wanting to become fit or you want to build strength, and you go and try just pick up these unbelievable weights that are way out of your range. Now, even if you can pick them up a few times, you'll be so sore and you probably won't do it again for a very long time. Mm-hmm. But that doing the right small steps over time makes a big difference. Have you ever read a book called Atomic Habits by James Clear?
I have, yes. Yeah.
He really talks to that. And earlier in this conversation, you talked about all those little small details. Something that you just shared reminds me about a concept he talks about, which is we can absolutely influence our identity through our habits. And when he talks about, well, how do you introduce new habits, he mentions the exact thing that you've just shared in your examples, which is start with something small, but do it consistently and then build onto that. Mm-hmm. So as you said, if you want to meditate and drink water and eat right and change who you are tomorrow, it's not realistic and it's definitely not sustainable.
Yeah, well, I actually have definitely had that, I guess, physical transformation myself, and that was through, getting rid of that all or nothing mindset and being able to be like, okay, I'm going to start with 3 days a week. I'm going to start training. Now I do 5 days and it's a non-negotiable for me. My diet, I have a very balanced diet, but I feel like that's sustainable for me, and I added that into my life very slowly. I have tried a challenge before, the one where it's like exercise twice a day, read 20 pages of a book, drink 4 liters of water.
Was that 75 hard?
It was, yeah. I wasn't going to name it, but yeah, that was it. I lasted about 3 hours. So, yeah, I think when you put that pressure on yourself, you just like, you know what, I can't be bothered. Like it's almost in the too hard basket. But when it's like little, you're like, I can do this. I can actually do this.
Yeah, it's those things that you can carry through sustainably over time, and then you build on that and you improve on that because you can always do better. But I found the exact same in anything that I've wanted, whether it's to train or to read more or whatever it might be. It's got to be in a way that I can do it without feeling miserable is a bit of an exaggeration, but I don't want to feel sad either. I want to feel like I'm thriving while I'm improving.
You don't want to feel like it's a chore. You want to enjoy that journey. You want to enjoy the process. And I guess, if we bring it back to Acero, that's what we live by, is that people come in and they enjoy training, not like, oh, I'm here again. I don't want to train.
Yeah, or here we go.
Yeah.
I'm like excited to be here.
Exactly.
You've created a really highly successful life for yourself. What does high performance mean to you, and what motivates you to keep improving?
I guess the woman that I want to become. I continually want to learn. I continually want to grow. I feel like I've definitely stepped into myself more as of late, and I've definitely found what those core values are and what they mean to me. But you can always continue learning. You can always continue growing, and I'm very excited about the unknown. Before, when I was, I guess, more on my logical side of my mind, it would be routine, scheduled down to a T. And like in my personal life, like I would wake up at a certain time. I would have all these different things that I'd have to do before I even headed out the door. Now, if I don't have that and it doesn't go to plan or I'm thrown off, I'm able to adapt to whatever it is that, I'm thrown in my life. Like if it's an email that it comes through and I'm like, oh, I got to, action this straight away, or, last minute meetings or whatever it is, I feel like I can adapt better rather than just sticking to a plan and it not going to plan and then being, I guess, thrown off. For me, high performance is being adaptable, being consistent, being able to persevere through the hard times, but also recognize those good times and enjoy them.
So brilliantly said. What are you most proud of in your life?
I'm most proud of, I guess, the woman that I have become, the connections that I've made, and the people that I surround myself with. For me, my circle and the people in my life, all I want to see is them happy, and I want to see them good, and do well, do incredibly well, and do whatever they want to do in terms of what they put their mind to. So that's the one thing. And I think it is what I'm most proud of is like reaching that happiness. Like I've genuinely, I found that, and it was definitely a journey for me. But even on days where I guess it's hard, it's tough, I'm exhausted, I can still come back to, but I'm happy doing this. Like this is what I want to do. And I think that just comes down to knowing exactly what I want to do, knowing my values, and knowing myself.
You can tell that you're really intentional, not just in what all of those things are, but how you do them. And you carry that, it comes through all the examples in the way you build your brands, what's important to you and how you put that into practice. And that really comes through when you talk about the things that you're most proud of.
Well, that's actually every year I have a word that I relate the year to, and 2024 was intention. So you saying that definitely like brings it to home. Like, we're nearing the end of the year, but everything that I've tried to do this year was do with intention. And there's days that I haven't, but it's definitely been an intention of mine to make sure that I have.
It definitely comes through.
Thank you.
Looking ahead, you've already achieved so much. What's the next big moonshot goal in your life?
Wow. I mean, continual growth for what I've built is definitely the moonshot goal for me. I want to see, everything do bigger, better, do things differently, things that haven't worked, do them differently, and also, I guess, further grow everything that I put my mind to. There are some incredibly exciting projects coming up, and I want to make sure that I'm putting 100% into them and enjoying that process along the way.
On to bigger and better.
Yes, that's it.
For our listeners who are dreaming big and chasing their own goals, what's the best piece of advice you'd give them to keep pushing forward even when things get tough?
That moment in time that is tough, it is temporary. It definitely gets better. It can get worse, and that's okay, but you've got to ride the wave and just know that whatever effort you put in to change something because it's not going the way you want to, embrace that change, because embracing change makes it easier to welcome that change. I feel like when you sort of, I guess, get caught up in the fact that you need to make change, and I feel like a lot of people do like to stay in that comfort zone of, okay, well, if it's not broke, what's the point in fixing it? I think being able to embrace change, do something different is the way to be able to grow, and growth happens in taking risks and doing something that's hard, and taking a risk is hard. So try to do those hard things because it only gets easier from there.
And sometimes it takes courage to do that. Have you heard the concept that if you're not in too much pain, or you said if you're not broke, don't fix it? It requires a lot more effort to actually make change, and
Yes.
It does require courage to take that step.
Absolutely, because you're in that comfort zone. You feel comfortable. You feel like this is good. Is the grass greener on the other side? There's always that unknown feeling. So I think, it is much harder.
Amy, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing all of your insights, but also your presence. And thank you for being so intentional on this episode. I can't wait for our listeners to hear everything you've got to share.
Thank you for having me.
If you've enjoyed this episode of Moonshot, please make sure to subscribe and rate the show. It really helps me grow the show and continue bringing you inspiring guests. Thank you for listening, and see you on the next episode of Moonshot.